And kids are they're not just facing the normal issues that we faced. We have to stand up and fight for them. But today, with the variants and all the circling back, you guys know what I'm talking about, the federal money attached to the decisions that are being made in education, and it is federal money, there are strings attached. And unfortunately, the hot topic of masks is coming back. So I thought with the new district update that's coming for every district in Idaho, October 1st, they have to put forth a new reopening plan. So if you didn't know about that, the October 1st deadline is coming, and every district has to give our governor a new reopening plan. So the school boards are all working on that right now. So if you haven't heard about it, ask them. So most of us have heard about all of these numbers about COVID, yes? So they tell us that the COVID virus, you ready, is 0.1 microns. Do any of you know what that means? Yeah, it's super small, right? So we hear the number, but what does it really mean? Do you know? I don't either, right? So I decided to do some research. So 0.1 microns. The cloth face coverings that our kids are wearing, and I decided to be super conservative, all right? Most of the cloth face coverings that our kids are wearing, the fiber pores, do you guys know what fiber pores are? Okay, Lily, can you tell us what a fiber pore is?
Kind of.
What do you think?
I think that it's like the very small holes like in cloths or really anything.
Perfect. Okay, so with the fabric, good job, give her a hand. Thank you. So the fabric in the mask that the kids are wearing, or the paper mask, right? The openings that the COVID can go through, right? I decided to be conservative. Most of them are much larger than this, but let's go with the best case scenario, right? If the kids aren't getting any slobber, other stuff on them, right? So best case scenario, let's say 20 to 100 microns, much larger than the COVID particle. Let's go with 20, okay? That's being very nice. So if you want to present this to your school board, this is best case scenario. So here's our COVID particle, 0.1 microns. The best case scenario cloth, 20 microns. And we decided, we do the math here for us. That is 200 times larger for your mask, the pore size. So if we look at our fabric particle, we don't have the microscopes, but we'll do this, just pretend. 200 times larger the opening than the COVID. Okay, so we're slapping these things on our kids' faces, and it's 200 times larger than the COVID particles. Does this make sense? Yeah. Does it make sense that we're putting these masks on our face? No. Okay. So I went shopping. I didn't buy the boxes because I refuse, but I decided I would read what it says on the boxes and write some of these things out for you guys. So here we go. Masks. They're for single use. Do you know how many kids wear these over and over again? Yeah. Okay. General purpose. So not medical, just to help us. Does not eliminate the risk of contracting any virus, disease, or infection. We need to make sure the mask covers our face from nose to under the chin. Have you guys watched these kids, how they wear these masks? Okay, just checking. Change immediately if contaminated with bodily fluids. Slobber. Last year at a high school in Nampa, do you know they were making the kids blow their nose inside their mask? Yes, they would get lunch detention if they took them down to blow their nose. So, fact. Anyway, just saying, they're not the cleanest things by about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Okay, moving on. Human hair. Everybody, real quick, just take a look at a piece of your hair, if you can even grab it. Super small, right guys? Really, really small? Okay. COVID virus is 1/1000th. How big is 1,000? You do? How big? Somebody take a picture of that. We do it one more time. Do that one more time. You're awesome. You won't do it one more time? Okay. I'm going to show you in a minute how many that is, okay? It's a lot, right? You need 1,000 COVID particles to make up the size of your hair, okay? So we're going to show them how many that is. Okie doke? Okay, hang on one second. Can you do me a favor?
Hi.
Okay, these are sugar cubes. Can you hold the mic for me? All right, these are sugar cubes. How many do you suppose are here?
1,000.
1,000. So this is 1,000 sugar cubes. We're pretending these are COVID particles. Okay, tell us 1,000 COVID particles.
1,000 COVID particles.
Yeah, 1,000 to make up one strand of hair. Okay? Ask them if they understand. Did they get it?
Did they get it?
Yep, did they get it? Good job. Okay, so it takes 1,000. Yeah, go ahead, give him a hand. Thank you. Good job. It takes 1,000 of those, you guys, for a hair. But yet we're strapping those face diapers on our kids every day. All right? Okay, you guys ready? All right, you're front and center. This is our face mask. And since, oh, I'm sorry. You okay? Okay. Since we don't have a microscope, this really is almost to scale, okay? We're gonna spread this out. Yeah, you might wanna come over here, sorry. Don't trip on the COVID particles. Okay, oh, let's see. You guys, you ready? You wanna put these down? Okay, I'm gonna need your help. Lily, maybe you can lead the troops. There's a bag of sand over there, and it represents the size of, you can just grab a handful. You guys wanna follow Lily? You're gonna grab a handful of COVID particles. And this is about the same size as COVID particles versus fibers in a mask. Let's not hit the people in front of us. Okay, but this is about how the masks keep the COVID particles in. You guys think you can nicely just throw that through there without hitting the people in front of you? No, it's okay. But no, because the mask is supposed to keep the COVID particles on this side. So it shouldn't go through, right? Okay, ready? Ever so gently.
Yeah.
It's not working. How come it's not working? Go ahead. Oh, do you want to throw some? No? Okay, good job. All right, let's give him a hand. Oh, no, wait, I got something for you. Come here. Who doesn't like Dutch Brothers? Right? All right, let's give him one more hand. Come here.
Oh, wow. I'm jealous.
Did you get yours? There you go. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Okay. All right, hopefully you guys, these examples help us start to understand what's going on, and we're just putting fear into our kids. I do understand that all of us need to decide what's right for our families, but please turn off your televisions. Don't believe what people tell you. Don't even believe what I've told you. Research for yourself, research for your family. Don't ignore your common sense. I truly believe that we owe it to our kids to allow them to be kids. Help me hold my papers. Allow them to smile, allow them to play, allow them to learn and grow up in a country where fear does not control their lives. When we were getting ready for this to start, there were 3 little boys over here peeling their eggs over by the garbage can. That's how they build their immune system. To quote one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Simone Gold, the founder of America's Frontline Doctors, scientifically, the masks are useless and irrelevant. That's a fact. God bless you guys. Have a good day.
About you, but that's the kind of teacher I want teaching my children. She told me that they were doing this spray cleaner or whatever cleaner on the desks, and the people cleaning were using a hazmat suit or to protect, gloves, using gloves and protection, but then the kids are having to use that same cleaner to clean their desks every day with no gloves and protection. You got to know what's going on with your kids at school, right down to like, are they making you clean your desks? What are you using to clean your desks? What about the hand sanitizer? All this garbage that they're putting on our kids all the time, not just the masks, right? But that's ridiculous. So thank you, Amy, that was awesome. I'm gonna read to you a little bit of our mission statement with Health Freedom Idaho. You might have heard that we're an anti-vaccine group. I'm gonna read you this mission statement. You tell me if that sounds like an anti-vaccine group. Ready? All right, this is gonna be a quiz. We are driven to guard and protect freedom from toxins in our air, water, and bodies. We are dedicated to the assurance of informed consent in medical procedures. We are committed to preserving parental rights to make healthcare decisions for our families. Does that sound like an anti-vaccine group? So the next time you hear on the news, Health Freedom Idaho, the anti-vaccine group, you can know that that's baloney. That's just to get you to not talk to us, or to not open our website, or to not show up at our events. Because if you show up, then you're anti-vaccine just because you showed up to a Health Freedom Idaho event, right? That's the narrative to keep you from being active. That's the narrative to keep you from connecting to your tribe, the people that will support you, that will come together and share like minds and new information and new science. They don't want that to happen. They also don't want us to give you a little activism 101, which is what I'm going to do right now. So if you are concerned about what is going on with the school boards, there's a little activism 101 called lit dropping, literature, short for literature. And that's something that we've been doing, and we get really good results. We learned it from Greg Pruitt with the Second Amendment Alliance, and now we're doing it and we're getting great results. And now you can do it if you're upset with what's going on with the school board. Here's what that looks like. And if you go to Miste K on BitChute, Sarah Clendenin and I did a little video about the hows and whys and when of a lit drop. You can do it. We just did it with Senator Winder because he will not bring us back into session so that we can handle this mandate issue, stop the mandate. And we just did it, his fundraiser. It was like 5 moms showed up. We got it done in like a half an hour. It doesn't take long. But what you should do is their neighborhoods, because they're not prepared. I bet you anything, their neighbor across the street does not know that they're a part of the board, the school board, that's keeping masks on our children. So what happens when you take a little flyer and it says so-and-so in this area is keeping masks on our children, right? And you hand that out to the neighbors, and all of a sudden they've got neighbors knocking on their door saying, why are you keeping masks on our children? That's the kind of community pressure. Remember that they're elected, right? They ran for this position, right? They need to be held accountable by the people, and they're not used to that. They're not used to being held accountable. In fact, I just saw a school board in California where they literally got up and walked out of the meeting. They called a break and they left because they're afraid of the pressure that the parents can bring. You can bring that pressure, and your children are relying on you to bring that pressure. And if you're ready to do it, take a friend with you. Show them how to do it. You can always reach out to me and I can help you, but this is really important if we want to make a change on what the boards are doing. So now I'm going to segue a little bit. I'm going to talk to you. Hang on. Where's my thing timed out here? Let's talk about our governor. I call him the little tyrant. Boo! Let's hear it. Boo! Boo! So the Idaho government is out of balance, and it continues to be out of balance. All power lies solely in the hands of the governor, Governor Little right now. He is keeping us in a state of emergency, and the declaration has a time limit of 30 days. Have we been past that 30 days? We're far past that 30 days. He has an option to extend it for another 30 days should the situation warrant. In order to get around those those expiration dates, the governor keeps rescinding emergencies and replacing them. So he's doing a workaround. This is not what we're supposed to be in. This is not how it's supposed to work. But he's found this little workaround and he keeps using it until we stop complying. The emergency declaration allows the governor to suspend rules, but not laws. Laws are also referred to as code. So let's remember that. He can suspend rules, but not laws. Keep that in mind. Article 2 of the Idaho Constitution is very clear about the separation of powers. We continue to operate under the emergency, with its first declaration being March 13th, 2020. Remember, that should have only been 60 days at the most. Now, at the time that we created this, which I don't think is too far different, the COVID has a 99.4 survival rate for those under the age of 65. And it only increases as you get younger, your survival rate. Does that sound like something that's worthy of keeping us in a perpetual state of emergency? Or keeping masks on our children? Who owns the right to your body? That's right. COVID-19 emergency declaration timeline. Okay, here comes the dates. March 13th, declared the state of emergency and the clock starts for 30 days. March 18th, Little writes a new temporary rule to restrict pharmacists from dispensing hydrochloroquine for off-label use. March 23rd, by proclamation, the governor suspends 125 plus rules. 125. Now, did you hear all over the news that we're the most deregulated state? Well, let me tell you, some of those rules protect your rights. So just when we hear that these rules are being suspended and, oh, we're so deregulated, some of those protect your parental rights. Let's talk about that. Hundreds of rules are suspended, but most concerning are parents' rights when children are taken into state custody. No visitation, no notice of transfer for children, changes to the facility requirements where children are housed when in state custody. So what that looks like is, if CPS were to take your child, you don't get to know where they are. You don't get to talk to them in person. You don't get to, and if it's a group facility, they are no longer required to have a certain amount of bathrooms for girls and boys. Does that sound right? That's crazy. Now, this has been happening since March of 2020. These parental rights have been suspended. Are you okay with that? No. I'm not okay with that. 9 COVID hospitalizations in Idaho out of 1,818 hospital beds, representing a mere 0.5 utilization rate of hospital beds. At the time, he declared a state of emergency and suspended these rules. That's crazy. March 25th. Here we go. March 25th. Governor declares an extreme state of emergency, and that's restarted the clock. State of extreme emergency on March 25th invoked Idaho Code 46-601, the state of martial law and active duty chapter of Idaho Code. I'm going to tell you what happened. We called him out for that big time. An extreme state of emergency, and then you saw all the news stations go, no, we're not in martial law. Well, yeah, when he invoked the extreme state of emergency, that did put us in martial law, and because we screamed and yelled about it and came down here to the Capitol, he took it back. But the people who are watching the news don't know. They think we were never in martial law. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's because of our work that we got that rescinded and back to a regular state of emergency. Good grief. April 24th, Little extends emergency declarations and waives more regulations. More accurately said, changed election laws. Remember, he doesn't have the right to change laws. He can suspend rules, but what did he do? Unchecked, he changed election laws. Primary elections were by absentee. Governor writes rules to restrict effective treatments for COVID, then calls a special session to establish immunity from civil liability. Do you guys remember this? They wanted immunity for everything they were going to be doing to us. And they did it under the guise of protecting small business. They were like, well, we don't want these businesses to be open to lawsuits if somebody gets COVID there. Have you ever sued anybody because you got the flu at the grocery store? Did you happen to know that's where you got the flu or the common cold? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So what that would have done, if it had passed, is that then all of the businesses that co-op with the state, they would have done the state's bidding in order to get that liability protection because they thought they needed it because the government told them they did. And then they would have done the bidding of the government and said, sorry, you have to have a mask in here. Sorry, you have to have a vaccine in here. Well, we stopped it. We, the people, showed up to the special session created for this kind of immunity from liability that would have been government strings, and we stopped it. What ended up happening is everybody gets immunity from liability. So if I go to your house, I can't sue you for getting COVID. as if we could ever prove that anyway. And I really think, I'm concerned that we've opened some kind of Pandora's box that we don't know. Because does that then infer that we can sue somebody for getting the flu? I mean, if you have immunity from liability from COVID, do you need immunity from liability for the flu or the chickenpox? This is crazy. The governor had the State Board of Pharmacy meet for special session at the governor's, so March 26th, Idaho State Board of Pharmacy also restricted the use of azithromycin using almost identical wording. And then the governor said, and I clipped this in one of his exhausting and excruciating to listen to press conferences, we are not going back to normal until we have a vaccine. This was on April 23rd. So literally like a month later, until we have a vaccine, we're not going back to normal. That was already the narrative. The governor stated that it could be 12 to 18 months before a vaccine was available. The EUA states status is only achieved when no other treatments are available. So does that make sense to you now why they can't say hydrochloroquine works? Or what's that other one people are using? Ivermectin? They cannot say those are working because then they can't keep using the vaccine under the EUA. They have to debunk every possible treatment, or else they can't keep the state of emergency going, and the governor can't keep his funds flooding in. And those funds are controlling you through the school boards, through the health district boards. Those funds are controlling you and getting 5G throughout our whole state. Yeah, boo is right.
Boo.
So since when does the governor get to tell doctors what they can and can't prescribe? Have you ever seen such a thing? No. This is crazy. So we had the people's session. I'm going to skip through that. We had the people's session. We tried to get some things passed. But again, like this last people's session, the rest of the legislators didn't show up. That should tell you you don't have the representation you're hoping you do here.
Why are we still paying taxes then?
Amen. Why are we still paying taxes?
Let's don't.
Yeah, let's don't.
Stop.
So during the special session that
This
the
is
governor
taxation with no representation.
That's right, taxation with no representation. Oh, so also during legislative session, we had brought some good bills, right? They had the opportunity to pass them. Representative Priscilla Giddings, who's also running for lieutenant governor, she carried HB 140 for us. HB 140 passed the House with veto-proof majority, and then it went to the Senate to be put in the drawer by the chairman. So the Senate never heard it and voted on it. What would have happened if HB 140 had been passed is that none of the businesses who partner with the state or federal government could have required the vaccine. Doesn't it make logical sense if we the people say that we don't want our tax money used for a medical coercion? You see how that's all working? That's your tax money. And you know what we were told by Senator Patrick, the chairman? The insurance companies don't want it. The insurance companies don't want it. What about we the people? Who does Senator Patrick represent? We the people. But he said the insurance companies don't want it. So you don't get to have that protection because the insurance companies don't want it. And Senator Patrick is doing the bidding of the insurance companies and putting that bill in the drawer. Health Freedom Idaho and Representative Priscilla Giddings had the foresight to see that this was coming, and we brought a good bill. Like I said, passed through the House with a veto-proof majority, and Senator Patrick put it in the drawer. I think you should email him and let him know what you think about that. Because if he had showed up to this session that they just tried to hold, he could have just brought that out of the drawer and passed it through the Senate, and we'd be done for the bulk of it. So here's another thing that the governor said when we tried to put pressure on him with HB 140. He said Idaho legislature's actions threaten vaccine rollout and Idaho's prosperity. What he's saying is the actions you all are taking, Health Freedom Idaho and the Patriots and the Liberty legislators, the action you're taking could cut off my funding for the vaccines.
Nice.
When you listen to, yes, right. You all are happy about that, but the majority are not, because they just hear it's going to threaten Idaho's prosperity. Oh no. They're not reading between the lines, so you have to educate your friends and family and neighbors and let them know what he means when he says crap like that. Okay, I do have good news. I can't be doom and gloom all the time. Okay, in 2021, the passage of HB 298, the schools and daycares, have you ever gotten those things from the schools and daycares, the thing that says your child is not vaccinated and they're going to be kicked out of school if they don't get vaccinated, but it doesn't actually have the statute in there with the opt-out? Yes, we changed that. They now have to have the statute on there. This is informed consent. This is true informed consent. This is Idahoans knowing what the law is providing for them and able to use it. And you know what their argument was to try to stop this no-brainer bill? The vaccination rates could decline. Right, meaning parents could make informed choices. How terrifying. Let's see, what else do I want to say? All right. We, the people, do not consent. All the power is in the people. All the power is in you, the people. Stop waiting for a political savior. They're not coming in to save you. We have to save each other. Are you making connections in your community? Are you figuring out where you're going to get your produce or your meat? Are you helping each other educate your children? Are you finding out who is trained with their firearms and really knows everything about how to defend their homes and defend you? Are you making these connections in your community? Are you finding good, safe health care? People who will really take care of you and not turn you out at the door because you're not vaccinated or not wearing a mask?
Awesome.
This is the human rights of our generation. We are going to make history. I look forward to making history with you. A history that our children can be proud of. And our grandchildren and their children, when they open the history books, they say, my mom, my dad, my grandma, they made history during the civil rights movement of their time. And I look forward to the day that I meet my maker and he says, well done, good and faithful servant.
Tell them about the local restrictions.
Oh, I don't know, but I am going to introduce Dr. Newsom, and he is going to bring a little bit more hope than I just did to you all. You might recognize him from The Truth About Cancer, and he is a great patriot and a health-minded doctor who's going to impart some of his wisdom to you so that we can all work together within our community to take good care, good loving care of each other.
Excellent. Thank you everybody. My goodness. I wanted to just tell you, you were designed to heal. Has anybody here ever had a cut? Are you still alive? Are you still breathing? Mm-hmm. Okay,
yep.
Okay. Have you ever had anything worse than a cut?
Oh, yes.
Still here. I broke my back twice. Okay? I then went on to become a power lifter and a 7th degree black belt. Huh? The body's designed to heal. Okay? So let's talk about this. When it comes to healing, we first have to discover why we get sick. Okay? There's basic things. Did you know that of all the bugs in the world, only 5% of them can cause disease? All the bugs, all the viruses, all the bacteria, all the fungus, all the parasites, only 5% can make you sick.
Hey, Dr. Newsom?
Yes.
Talk
A little louder, sorry. Okay, there we go. Only 5% of the microorganisms on the planet can make you sick. The other 95% can make you healthy. Okay? So, is the problem with our health bugs? No, it can't possibly be. Okay? Has anybody ever had a fish? Okay, have you ever had a fish? Did you ever have a fish that died?
Yeah.
Okay, did the water get dirty?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did it get dirty before the fish died or after?
Before.
It got really dirty after, right? But before the fish died, the water was kind of weird, right? The water made the fish sick.
Can't say we changed it.
How much of your body is water?
75%.
75%.
Yes.
Okay. What happens when your water gets dirty?
Flush it out.
You get sick. You get sick. Okay, I tell patients this. If we took a 5-gallon bucket, we go sterilize it, and we fill it with distilled water, then we take it and we leave it out at the interstate for 6 weeks, uncovered. That pure water, okay, distilled water is H2O, there's nothing in it, right? Right? Okay, so we put that water out next to the interstate and we leave it there for 6 weeks. What's going to happen? I mean, everything in that water. Water accumulates its environment. The water in your body accumulates its environment too, is what I'm trying to tell you, all right? So, our bodies, when we're exposed to toxic materials, if our body doesn't eliminate them, guess what? They get stuck in our system. As they get stuck in their system, they accumulate because, misery likes company. Okay? And one bonds to another one, and another one, and so on and so forth, and they become a problem. Okay? I call these things irritants. Okay? Irritants are what cause our body to have inflammatory responses. We hear a lot about hydroxychloroquine. You know what we've been using that medically for about 70 years? For parasites, for lupus, for rheumatoid arthritis. Anybody here have rheumatoid arthritis? Does anybody know anybody with rheumatoid arthritis? Okay. Is that an inflammatory disease or not? Yes. Okay, so we use this hydroxychloroquine to shut down that inflammatory process. Okay? And it works nice. Okay, that's a medical use for that. Why would that work in a virus? Because a virus is an irritant and it triggers an inflammatory response in your system. When you have the flu, when you have COVID, when you have any virus, the symptoms that you're having are because your body is having an inflammatory response to something toxic. The viruses are toxic. They're toxic proteins. Okay? So there's a process in how we get sick. First, we have to get irritated. Next, we have to have an inflammatory response. And then guess what that inflammatory response does to our body? It creates stagnant water. What happens to stagnant water? It grows stuff. It grows stuff. Just like that bucket of water we were just talking about, right? Because the bucket of water is stagnant and not moving, it accumulates stuff. And stuff starts to grow in it. Anywhere that you have inflammation is accumulating stuff and stuff's growing in it. Okay, so enough doom and gloom. Let's step over. We have any Bible readers here? Anybody like scripture? All right. I got this really cool process from reading scripture. And I call it the healing process. But when we look at how, when we come to Christ, okay, Christ, his first thing he does is he pays our debt and he stabilizes our spiritual state. All right? The next thing he does is he sends the Holy Spirit in to sanctify us. I want you to go home and study the word sanctification and the word detoxification. Put them side by side. You'll notice they're identical. All right? Next, as we walk with God and commune with Christ, he builds us into a new person. If you cut your finger with a dirty, rusty nail, the first thing you have to do is stop the bleeding. You have to stabilize the wound. It's the first thing that has to happen. No bleeding wound can heal, right? So that wound has to stabilize, number one. Number two, if you got dirt and rust in that wound, what's going to happen?
It's not going to heal, right? Okay, so we have to detoxify that wound. We have to cleanse that wound. That's the next step. Finally, we have to do something to fortify that wound. We have to approximate the borders of the lesion, is what we call it in medicine. Okay, we got to put something, wrap that wound up, right? We put a Band-Aid on it or something like that, right? Wrap that wound up. Why? Because if you hold it together, it'll heal faster. That's how your body heals. And it doesn't matter what you have. I've been practicing for 30 years. And man, I have had over 16,000 patients. Most of them with cancer, most of them with really, really nasty, terrible stuff. And you know what? This simple little process of stabilize them, detoxify them, and rebuild them works. And it doesn't matter what they have, because you are designed to heal. It comes back to that very, very simple thing. You are designed to heal. And the process through which you heal starts with stabilization, progresses by detoxification. No dirty wound ever heals. Correct? That's universal. It's spiritual, mental, physical, right? No dirty wound will ever heal. Therefore, you have to clean it. You have to detoxify it. Finally, you have to do things that will rebuild you. Things that aren't going to tear you down. Things that are going to fortify you, build you up. And as you do those, once you're stable and you start doing detoxification and building and rebuilding and detoxification and building, you get in that process, it almost doesn't matter what you have. It will heal. Or it will heal to the best of your capacity. I wanted to say just a couple things before I get out of here. Oh yes. God doesn't care what your diagnosis is, and neither does your body. Okay? Neither God nor your body care what your diagnosis is. You are designed to heal. Okay? Illness isn't God's fault. He never makes people sick. Okay? It's always something we bring upon ourselves somehow, some way. Okay? One of the things I've been saying over and over and over again is freedom of choice is the polar opposite of freedom from choice. Okay? Freedom of choice means you have freedom. Freedom from choice means you're in a dictatorship. Period. And lastly, this is my favorite actually. If the ants wanted something different, if the worker ants wanted something different, the queen ant wouldn't last very long.
This only works if we comply. I just heard that the farmers market is requiring proof of vaccination in order to attend the farmers market.
Oh.
I would imagine that they are trying to comply with Queen McLean and her latest edict. I would suggest that you look up the Boise Farmers Market, contact them, let them know you're not in favor of this. This is going to hurt their businesses. So maybe we've got land, we can offer them a spot to have their market somewhere else so they can remove themselves from the tyranny of Queen McLean. Something has to happen.
Put up food trucks outside.
Be calling, and I would be emailing, and I would be... Here's the thing. Freedom people are usually not the loudest people, because we're kind of like, you do you, I do me, we're gonna all get along, it's gonna be fine. But the other side of that spectrum are the ones that are the loudest. And I will tell you, when I went to the Boise Co-op, one of the workers there was very upset to have to put a mask back on his face. And he said, if you are as upset as I am by the fact that I have to be humiliated to come to work every day, can you please email the board or the managers and let them know? Because the only ones who complain are the ones that are afraid and want the masks, and we never hear from people like you. So we have to talk to them and tell them that we're okay, we feel safe. We would like to be able to shop at those places, but we're not going to under these conditions. we're going to go somewhere else, and it's going to hurt their businesses. So I would suggest you take some action on these kinds of things, and it's time to defy.
Yes. Let's do it.
So at our table over there, if you want any of this information, this is information that says be informed before you consent. It's something that you can give people that you love and care about or concerned that they're not making an informed choice when it comes to the COVID vaccine. Next weekend, we are having, for the victims of the COVID jab, a memorial and vigil on Saturday, September 25th at 10 a.m. You might have heard it on the news that we didn't have the Anne Frank Memorial reserved, but we did. All of a sudden, they are having a cleaning day of the memorial, so we don't get to use it. But what we do get to use is the public grass area on the other side right behind it. So there's the green belt, and then the grass area right behind it is where we will set up our vigil. And then you'll be able to see the numbers that are taking place that are reported to VAERS, and which is a reporting system we've been using for like 30 years and nobody's had a problem with it. It's the only one that we have access to in regards to vaccine data. Everything else is hidden. This is the one that they let us see, you know? So this is what we have to use. So right now, I'll just say 14,506 deaths have been reported to VAERS. That's something you won't hear on the news. And that's why we're gonna have a vigil behind the Anne Frank Memorial next Saturday at 10 a.m. I hope you can be there. Okay, what's next? Right, okay, all right. I guess it's time to march, but let's hear about what we're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you, Miste. Hi, guys. Who's ready to rock and roll and march through downtown Boise? All right, woo! Okay, before we go, I want to thank Dr. Newsom for talking about choice. We can choose how we're going to march through our city today. We can march through as in a place of love, or we can march through as in a place of fear. And what have they been putting on us since this whole COVID crazy started? Fear. They've told us there is this so-called vaccine, and that with this so-called vaccine, we need to jab ourselves with some so-called toxic substance into our body. And we have to be afraid and wear a mask, as we've so eloquently heard from our speakers. The opposite of that is to march in a place of love. And that's a place of empowerment. And we are part of the SAFE family, which is sovereign, awake, free, and empowered. So how about if we all get out there today and we march in confidence and empowerment and sovereignty. And we are going to try to load this speaker up and Julian and I will be up front, and we have Owen and his mom who are going to be marching up front with us. And we love to have you grab any posters that you see around and let's get vocal. Okay, so we're going to lead you guys in some chants. If Trisha is still here, she may sing a song or two. Trisha, are you still here? She has a couple kids, so she may have had to leave. Okay, all right, so we're gonna get loaded up and let's get ready to rock and roll. And we actually are, if so compelled, we're gonna walk around the farmers market and we're going to chant around them as well. How's that go? Because we want to support them and they don't want to have to do this whole mask vaccine card BS. All right, okay guys, let's get ready. All right.
Hey, do you know where you got the smaller? Yeah. Or can I do you know where you got those? Yeah. Okay. Good. Do you know? All right. I need. Oh.
Where's your brother? Okay, I see him. Yeah.